All right, good evening, everybody. Online, can you hear us okay? Oh, thanks, Laura. Thumbs up is as good. Oh, yeah, thank you, everybody. Right, welcome to the Town Council Community Matters Committee meeting Thursday, the 27th of July. We are all here with the exception, we've got one apology from Carol Preston, who for personal reasons can't be here today, but everybody else is present, so we will get started. We'll jump straight on to item 3, declaration of councillors' interests and requests for dispensations. We'll just go around the room. Janet?
None that I'm aware of.
Oh, none that I'm aware of. Frankie?
None that I'm aware of.
David?
None that I'm aware of.
Ben?
Yeah, item 7.1. Just to be clear also for the recording, I was not involved in the grant working party discussion regarding this either. Our wife is the now chairman of the Porset Preschool at Brampton Way and Hilltop. Therefore, I won't be discussing the item. I won't be even present in the room for the item.
No, I was going to say,
I will leave the building at that point.
if you're okay, we'll ask you to leave at that
I
moment.
don't want to be involved in it for obvious reasons.
We'll send somebody to get you back.
Have been a poacher.
Maybe. Okay, Dave.
Long discussion. There could be 2 or 3 pints in, so I'd probably just leave me there.
Okay, thanks for that one. And Emma?
No, none that I'm aware of.
And nothing from me. Okay, so we can move on to item 4 on the agenda, Chairman's verbal update. Update on the play parks, lake grounds in particular. We have, there's ongoing work going on down at the lake grounds anyway, and we'll come to that in a minute. It's further on under item, under item 8. But there is some other work going on at the moment. We're looking at a replacement gate and frame for the gate that's next to the lake, out of the play area, and also the safety surface, replacement of the safety surface at the top of the bank there. I think we're just looking at what the costs of those are going to be, and depending on the values, then quotes will be sought. Anything else on that one before we move on? Everyone happy with that? Okie doke. So we can, I've lost my place now, there we go. Sorry.
5.
Oh yeah, number 5, public participation relating to the meeting agenda. So we've got a couple of people in the room. So if everybody online is okay with it, I'll deal with the people in the room first, and then we'll come to those online. Chris.
Yeah, sorry, mine's in support of Now Hear This, basically from a personal perspective. I've got a son who is severely disabled and gets a lot out of Laura's sessions. In fact, I know quite a few of you know Mark.
Just one sec. Can everybody online, can they hear Chris? Yeah, okay.
I can go louder if you
No,
require.
you're fine. They confirm they can hear you already.
Yeah, so it's just really a personal thing, but I also know I've been to some of the sessions myself, having taken Mark there, and I know a lot of the special people that go get a heck of a lot out of it. But from Mark's perspective, Mark is severely autistic, and I know, as I was saying, a lot of you know him already. Non-verbal. Laura's been incredible. What she's done with Mark has been absolutely outstanding. She's got him singing 4 different songs. I mean, it's just incredible. And she's got him playing multiple instruments. And at Christmas, I think the thing that shocked me most of all is that she got all the people together, special people together, and they did a concert at the church, and it was absolutely amazing, absolutely brilliant. So I'm here to support Laura and her adventure. And I'd also go to say, although I'm talking about some of our people in the community that we have, let's not forget music is for everyone, and there are other people who will have other types of difficulties who will get tremendous amount out of learning some music. So yeah, I'm here to support Laura, and I hope council follows.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Purely here to observe the meeting.
All right. Okay. So we'll move online. We've got a number of people online. Laura, as Chris has just given a wonderful supporting piece about your piece, we'll come to you first.
I didn't sign in wishing to sort of preach or anything. If not least because I'm likely to get over emotional and I don't want to end up crying. But I think that what we've been doing at the Beacon Hub has meant a lot to a lot of people, not just the people who have been attending with disabilities and impairments. But this morning I had my last session before a summer break, and so many new families, even now, they said, "Oh, we wish we'd known sooner." And young family, a lady with twins who had been put in touch by Home Start. So word is getting out there, and you've read all about the administrative things that I'm in the process of doing. So thank you, Chris, for being so supportive, and thank you everybody. Kevin, I'm so happy to see you there signed in. Thank you so much for making the effort to be here tonight and listening to the chat. And I'm happy to answer any more questions if there are any later on.
Okay,
Thanks.
super. Thank you. Kevin, Joe, anything you'd like to add?
I love music session. I'm really enjoying it as well. It's really good fun, and I want to carry on doing the music club with Laura. She's amazing. I really like her.
Yeah, pre like all the COVID and lockdowns, Kev used to have a music session elsewhere, but coming back out of COVID, that just didn't run. And music is a massive passion that Kev has. He studied it at college and everything. And then when Laura's session came up, I think a lot of it started with Kev and Mark originally. And then it grew to what it is today. It's brought the community together, and it's just also helped give structure to a lot of Kev's life and Mark's life, I imagine too. It's just been invaluable. What Laura's done with you. Kev has specific music equipment that you may have heard of. It's called a Soundbeam. And it's a special aid music technology for people in wheelchairs and people who suffer with motor issues and everything. And then Laura went out and purchased some and made and created whole specific Soundbeam sessions to really help Kev with his Soundbeam as well. Because as support staff, we can only do so much. So having someone like Laura on board to really help and assist with that, it's been brilliant. And it's been invaluable, really, Kev, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want Laura to carry on with the music time with me. She's done fab.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
Well done.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And one other person online, Gary, anything you'd like to say?
No, nothing here.
Okay, all right, thank you. So that completes that bit. We move on to item 6, which is minutes from previous meeting. Has everybody had a chance to go through the previous minutes?
Yeah.
Anybody got any issues or concerns with them?
All seem okay to me from memory. Looking at it.
Yeah. Okay, so we will move to the we'll move to the recommendation for the chair to sign the minutes as a true record. So can we have a proposer? Ben, seconder, Frankie, and all in favour? That's everybody. Okay. Thank you very much. Do you want me to do that now? I've got a pen.
Somebody else
Come
has
from
just
it.
joined. Nathan's just
Oh.
joined.
Hi, Sue. We will move on to item 7, which is the grant applications. The first one on this is Portishead Preschool, so we'll just give Ben a minute to leave the room or leave the building.
One for me, Ben.
Okay, we just give him a minute to get out of earshot. Okay, so this is a grant application. It was reviewed by the Grants Working Party, and as mentioned by Ben earlier, because of his association with one of the people that's part of the committee there, he stepped down from the Grants Working Party for this one, and David Gunnell kindly stepped in, so as we had the right number of people to review it. This is Portishead Preschool. They are looking for a grant for £8,250. They're a registered charity with 2 locations in Portishead, one in Brampton, and the one in Brampton is the one that the grant's for. And it's to repair the roof, which is in pretty dire state. Lots of buckets involved, not for children to play with. This is to catch the water as it pours in through the roof. So I do apologise. Do apologise for my phone. As I said, we've reviewed the grant application. There were a number of questions that the Grant Working Party came back with. Just wanted some clarification on some bits and pieces, such as whether or not the repairing of the roof would extend the lifetime of the building, because we know that there are some questions around the whole building and its sort of life expectancy. And so we've had responses back to all of that. And once we'd reviewed those responses, the Grant Working Party have approved it, and so it's been put forward to the Community Matters Committee to discuss and vote on. So has everybody had a chance to look at the grant application? Any questions from anybody? No? No? Okay. So we will move to the recommendation then to award Portishead Preschool grant of £8,250. Oh, sorry, one very important part. I need to go back and just mention this. The 8,250 is 50% of the cost of the roof. The rest of the money they will be sourcing themselves. They're obviously, when they peel the roof back, they may find some remedial work that needs to be done, which will be over and above. They've got money. They've got a contingency pot in their coffers to cover all of that. So they would not be coming back to us for additional funds. This is it. So sorry, I meant to put that in. So recommendation is to award Portishead Preschool a grant of £8,250 as a contribution towards the Brampton Preschool roof repair. Can we have a proposer, Janet, and a seconder, Bob? And we'll put that to the votes. All in favour? Everybody. Okie doke. Super.
I'm going to get Ben back.
Mike's going to go. Mike. Just give us a second. Mike's just popping down to get Ben back. Welcome back.
We said no, Mara.
Okay, so item 2 on the grant application is the Now Hear This grant application from Laura. This is for £2,400. It's to pay for venue hire for the music club, and we've heard various people give some wonderful feedback on the events, or on the groups that Laura puts on. Me personally, I've experienced, not going into the group, but I've been in the Beacon when they've been running, and I know a couple of the other councillors have seen it as well, particularly on the Wellbeing Day, where lots of people were coming back and just saying what a fantastic environment it was. So we reviewed the application. This is to pay for room hire or venue hire to continue the group 4 hours per week for 30 weeks, commencing from October this year. As a grant working party, we reviewed it. We had a number of questions, quite a few questions, most of which, Laura, you have come back with the answers to. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for your patience in as we gathered all the information. But obviously, we've got to meet key criteria. Some of the questions were around DBS checks and certificate, safeguarding, etc. So Laura's provided all that. So we are now pretty comfortable with all the information that we have gathered. But there are two final things, and hopefully, Laura, you can answer both of these for us today. One is, as a grant provider, we are required to provide reporting on where our grant money goes and the benefit that delivers to Portishead. So as part of this grant, if it is approved today, we would ask if you can provide. We don't want detailed information around residents, but we would like to understand the number of Portishead residents that your group benefits, if that's okay. And if you could provide that, we don't need any more detail other than, you know, the number of attendees and the number of Portishead people, just so as we can allocate the benefit to the Portishead residents. Is that possible?
That is certainly possible. Perhaps when you send me, I don't know if you have pro formas or anything that you give your awardees for that collection of data. In terms of benefiting the residents of Portishead, are you categorising that as purely the people who are coming to the sessions, or also the people that, for example, are engaging by walking into the Beacon Hub? I'm not sure how I'd collate that information.
It's residents. So if it's people that are walking into and are benefiting from the environment, then that's absolutely fine as well. But the key one is really, you know, the number of people, number of residents of Portishead that attend your session is the key bit for us. Okay.
Okay.
That's item one. Item two is that there's policy and legislation around grant giving, which restricts the council paying an individual. Okay. And so we know that you have looked at the possibility of becoming a CIC or a community group, and we would recommend that you go down that road. We are all very supportive of this, and we want to sort of approve the grant. But to do that, we would have to, on this occasion, with the current bank setup that you have, where it's a personal bank account, we would have to say, if we were going ahead with this, we would have to pay the Beacon directly on this occasion. So I don't know whether that would be acceptable.
I don't know if I'm still on mute or not. I'm not.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, so I looked into this because when I first made contact asking about how to apply for the grant, Nikki Mills' first response was, don't bother, you're not going to qualify. And I asked why not, and she thought I was just an individual. So along with Katina James, who has previously been awarded a grant from you guys, we researched into the legal structures of social enterprises, because Nikki came back and said that Portishead Parent were given a grant because she runs a social enterprise. So I went back onto the government website, and which I believe I've copied you all into, actually, just detailing that it is possible for a sole trader to be a social enterprise. My bank account is a business bank account. You probably noticed on the top right hand, or maybe you didn't notice, it says that I'm trading as Now Hear This Music. So it is a business bank account rather than a personal bank account. So I'm just wondering whether, and I also supplied quite a lengthy document about the types of legal structure that I've looked into to go forward with and why I haven't taken that decision at this point. I wonder whether I kind of want to ask what the difference is between me and Portishead Parent in that instance, because as I said, I have had a number of chats with Katina about this, and we can't find a distinction. But I mean, I'm happy for you to pay the Beacon Hub if that's the way. But then in that case, would the grant be awarded to me or would it be awarded to them?
That's a difficult one to answer right at the moment. Let me just clarify a couple of things. The Portishead Parent bank account is named Portishead Parent. I can't go into too much detail about it, obviously, because it's another grant. But from a banking point of view, it is different. That said, I'm just looking across now. Laura, are you saying that the bank account that you're looking for us to pay the grant into is separate to your personal bank account?
Yes, it says on the top right-hand corner of the statements that I supplied to you that I'm trading as Now Hear This Music. Yeah, okay. It's a business account.
Okay, all right. So I'm getting.
Sorry, just because the participant page is over. Joe had his hand up.
Yes, just wanted to just confirm what Laura's saying. Whenever we pay by card at the Beacon Hub when we're doing the music sessions, it's always paid into the Now Hear This account, not Laura Porter. So and we've got our bank statements if you do need any proof. I'm sure Laura definitely has it, but just letting you know that is definitely a thing.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe, Kevin, and thanks, Laura, for that clarification. So, I think then I'm just going to look around the room. I think we've probably answered all of our concerns. So, we will move on to the recommendation. And the recommendation is to award, Now Hear This, a grant of $2,400 for venue hire for 4 hours per week for 30 weeks starting in October 2023. So can we have a proposer? Hands up everywhere. So Bob is a proposer, seconder, Janet. Okay, yeah, anybody? It's well supported in the room, I can assure you. So let's go for a vote. So all in favour? Everybody. So well done. Okay. And Laura,
smiling as well.
Apologies for all the questions, but we did need to make sure that we've got all the boxes.
If I might say, with a slight tongue in cheek, I'm sure you know I'm always happy to help out with legislative documents when it comes to PTC.
That's absolutely fine.
But thank you, everyone. We're actually meeting up for a little social because about 4 of our participants from our disabled adults group all had birthdays in July. So on Saturday, we're meeting up at the Beacon Hub for an hour to sing happy birthday. And you'd be welcome to come and say hi and meet some of the guys at 1 o'clock at the Beacon Hub Cafe.
1 o'clock. Okay. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay. Item 3 is Portishead Parent, and it's just a note really of to keep everybody abreast. So Portishead Parent received a grant from Portishead Town Council in December 2022. The grant funding was to support a year of activity. Therefore, the grant awarded will be spent by December 2023 and not by the end of June 23. Which was originally stipulated. Okay, so we're just going to allow that to run a little bit longer. Anybody got any questions on that? No. Okay, super. Well, that's the grant applications done. Item 8 is the next one, which is the Lake Grounds Tree Works. So this is to consider a report on tree works required to be carried out in the Lake Grounds play area, and there's a report attached. And it's quite a report. Thank you. There are a number of trees that have been, an assessment's been done, and there are a number of trees that require some work. Some of this work is pollarding, reducing, there's some dead branches that need to be taken out, etc. Now, 4 quotes have been sought. We have had 4 quotes back, but of those 4 quotes, only one of them has UA accreditation. Yeah, accreditation. One has said that they don't have, so they're out, and the other 2 have not responded to the question. So we're sort of, are we still waiting for those other 2 to come back? Are we still waiting? Are we chasing them for an answer, or do we need to move forward with it?
We have been waiting and we have been chasing.
Yeah, we have been waiting. We have been chasing.
Okay. Well, the issue is that this is this is a
some
health and safety issue.
Some of the
isn't it?
work will be done by National Grid utilities.
Okay.
They'll give a certain clearance because they won't allow anybody to work within a tree that's got lines in it.
Yeah.
For up to a certain distance, but beyond that, they won't do all the work, which is very unfortunate. So that's why we've had to get the quotes in.
Okay.
And I asked you the question, Sharon, about whether these are all accredited arboriculturalists or whatever.
I think you asked me the question whether they were local.
Local, and whether they were just accredited by North Somerset Council. The answer was
yeah.
To both of them.
The ones that are so forth going forward, which is quote A, I think, wasn't it?
Quote A, yeah.
Quote A,
Yeah.
And the lowest quote is also the one that's UA accredited. Also.
Yeah, they do a lot of work.
Okay. Have we used them before?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're known to us. All right. Okay. So, any questions on the Lake Ground tree works? And I'm looking down at the end of the table.
You knew this one was coming.
I knew this one was coming, Ben.
I got to say something about it because you know why. So I'm not going against the safety issue. You all know what world of industry I work in, so I recommend tree surveys quite regularly. What I am dead against is the fact that when we took it on from North Somerset Council, they neglected, for whatever reason, an error, administration chose to hide something from us. Take your pick which one you want to go with. I'll go with B. And we are lumbered with a bill for tree works that they've known about since 2021 in a report that they've since shared with us. Now, I have no issue, like I say, if it's we can't just sit it there. However, yet again, North Somerset have pulled a fast one, and I'm sorry. I'm at the point now where I can't sit here and stomach it and just say nothing. I can't. So I'm going to vote against this tonight. I'm voting against it not for safety reasons, to be very clear. I'm voting against it because I disagree with Portstead Town Council bailing North Somerset out the proverbial crap. Not acceptable, not good enough, and not funny. No.
Do you know if in the discussions between Portstead Town Council and North Somerset, did we specifically ask them about the safety aspects of the tree?
We didn't. Safety aspects of the trees, no, we didn't, because it was their responsibility. They, in my opinion, they have a duty to tell us when there's going to be a transfer of land, of any issues we need to be aware of.
Yeah.
We are not tree surgeons. We are not skate park experts. We are not play park experts. We are not the experts. They have an expert, just like we do. We pay an expert to come in and inspect our trees on Portstead Town Council land, which we do on a regular basis. That expert then advises us what is good, what is not so good, what needs to come down. That's what they do. So we, in my opinion, we defer to an expert. We should be able to trust an organisation to share with us information that is pertinent at the point of transfer of land. We shouldn't have to ask for it. They should share it. There's nothing to hide, apparently. Well, clearly there was. because we've got bills sat here. If you go to the worst case scenario, you're just shy of £10,000. Well, I'm sorry, there's Portishead residents in this town struggling to pay their bills. You've got Kev and Joe come on, and Chris is here now, which has awarded a grant to Laura to help people. Yet we're going to look at spending money to cover North Somerset's what's it? That's not good. And it's not a good look. And we've done it a couple of times already with things that they refuse to do, that we've paid for. Top of Avon Way, for example, where the residents was fighting it for years for safety reasons. North Somerset won't do it, so apparently they haven't got the money. Yet we're now here again and we're going to pay. No, not in my opinion, but I'm only one person, so I am going against it for that reason. It's morally wrong.
Okay. Bob, you were next.
Okay, 6th of October 2022, tree collapses at the lake grounds. I would expect an inspection of the trees at that time to be done. So I totally support Ben on this one. You know, it's not an oversight. If I was a council, I'd say, right, we've had a tree collapse in the lake grounds. They all need to be inspected. And
Janet?
On the North Somerset council tax bill, there's a special expenses, and it's supposed to be for the upkeep of the lake grounds and other areas like that. Am I right? Yes. And I think it comes to about £30,000 a year. Now, I cannot see £30,000 a year being spent on the lake grounds over the last 10 years or so. It simply hasn't been spent on the lake grounds. I don't know where that money's gone, but we shouldn't have to pay special expenses for something where we don't get any value for it. And I think the fact that North Somerset Council has passed that area on to Portishead Town Council, knowing it's not safe, is bordering on the criminal.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Has North Somerset Council been approached about this? Because from what you guys are saying, it sounds shocking.
I've asked for
Absolutely
them to
shocking.
be approached, but I don't know whether they have. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I sent you an email, Ben, didn't I? Can you remember?
The one we got back from Jason, but that wasn't a very particularly great response, was it? So he said,
Yeah, it was basically a two-liner that said that they knew about it going back to whatever year it was, and they would now pass it over to us because it was now under our jurisdiction.
So he's actually put it in writing. I mean, if we challenge this in a court of law, being I'm not a notice solicitor here, if we challenge this, your evidence there that somebody has passed something over to another owner that is unsafe and they know about it. That I read that email.
You can remember it now, can't you?
I do. So it was literally just 2 lines. I kind of read it, and actually I think the phone shouted out literally within seconds of reading it. So I know what you're phoning for. You read it? Yeah, I've read it. And I just sat there. I mean, I deal with, my world is, the minute a document leaves my desk, it's a legal document. It's got my signature on it. That is a legal document for 5 years. I expect North Somerset to be open and honest with us. Now, if they said, guys, look, we have an issue, we can't afford all of it, but we'll pay, it's going to cost us £8,000, we'll pay 6 of it, would you pay the other £2,000? I think most of them actually say, yeah, fair play, North Somerset, you've been open with us, you're paying 80% of it, you're asking us for the other 20, crack on with it, do the work, we'll pay it. It just don't fit, this doesn't sit right. And like I say, it's not the first instance that we're coming to, and we are paying something for North Somerset Council. That's my point. It's wrong.
It just strikes me that they're passing the buck all the time, and the fact is that they're the incompetence, frankly, of not dealing with a health and safety issue as it was known about is disgusting. Frankly, it's absolutely disgusting. Somebody could have got hurt prior to this, and they didn't deal with it at the time. That is disgraceful. It's utterly disgraceful, and I think that rather than just speak to North Somerset Council, I think that we ought to offer to let the press know.
Okay, thanks, Anna. One second. Mike, you put your hand up.
Oh, well, on that point, I was just going to ask about where the liability lands. If there was a branch coming down and it hit someone, who would be responsible for any litigation?
Well, obviously, the tree that came down on the 6th of October 22 was right on the footpath. And that's what I said. I'm sorry, there's no excuse. You would expect a complete survey. We would have to as a council. So North Somerset should know better. Simple as that.
Am I correct? Yes, obviously the big one that came down, obviously not so long ago.
3 weeks ago.
But am I also correct that they, in the meantime, also chopped another tree down as well, haven't they? Because we actually went down there when the skateboard was being built. So the tree was there, then the tree was gone. And that is inside the grounds of the lake. The total tree's gone. There's about that much left of the tree.
It was May, I think.
So it's not that they didn't know, and that's my point. And they've kind of admitted it in the email. I mean, they've kind of sunk themselves because of what he's put in that email. I'm not going to name the officer because that's not right and not fair.
That was the 4th of May.
Yeah, but ultimately they're putting in an email that they knew about it, and they've handed it over and not said anything. Now, you could argue from our point of view, should we ask a question? Yeah, we probably should have. However, it's not our prerogative to ask it all, because when it goes through the legal team at North Somerset, which it did, obviously, because make sure it's all being signed off and all the relevant stuff was right for the grant people and us and so on and so on, you would expect them to provide evidence of whatever concerns that they're aware of, and expect them to provide it as a matter of course. There's nothing to hide, because ultimately we could have come to an agreement where, okay, yeah, we're going to take it on anyway, because we kind of, for the skate park and the part that was stuff that was doing, but we could have come to an amicable agreement between us where they will pay a percentage and we'll then finish the rest, because that would have been a fair deal.
Okay.
I wouldn't have an issue with that. This doesn't feel like a fair deal. I genuinely feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been completely hoodwinked and lied to. And when the gentleman puts that in an email, that to me was enough said. You can't say any more to that because you've got no defence.
Frankie, you sat patiently.
Yeah, I agree with Ben, but I'm just mindful that we are approaching the wintry season, so it's going to need to be dealt with before the next tree lands in somewhere else.
We need to have a plan, don't we?
Yeah.
We do.
Wouldn't it be awful if someone got injured or worse?
I'm not speaking that much at all. I mean, if it was me, to make a genuine point, I would shut the park, and I would tell people why I would shut the park, and that would be the skate park and the play park and the whole area. And I'd tell people why.
I think we've got a couple of options here, haven't we? We can park it, but that's hugely risky.
That's not an option.
With the park open and children in there playing, so we can just sort of leave it and go into a battle with North Somerset, which will go on for months, I'm sure. We can go ahead and do the work, and in parallel with that, go to North Somerset and say, look, we're doing the work, but you should have dealt with this before you handed this over, or at least provided funds for us to do.
They clearly had the warning signs, so
as that. And we've got the email that confirms they were aware, or we go ahead and pay for it and don't approach North Somerset. I think it's.
I think the fourth option is that we make a big fuss tomorrow and say in the press that we're going to be shutting the skate park if North Somerset Council doesn't sort this problem out, and they've admitted that they knew about it in 2021. I think that's the fourth option, and I think we put that on Points West, and we let Mike Bell know that we're going to do that tomorrow morning first thing. Because I think that this is endangering people's lives. They've been endangering those people's lives since 2021. They knew about it then. That's absolutely disgraceful.
Well,
it is a difficult one. I'm always aware of public perception on things like this, and I know what the public will say. I think that the third option is the correct way for us to do it, is to we'll go ahead with it, but we push North Somerset. It's not a large amount of money, and like Ben says, there could be an agreement where they pay half, we pay half.
I don't think
But I
that's-
think we need to pursue that format.
I think, yeah.
To be honest,
my view would be we need to deal with this quickly
We
in
can't-
regards
we
to
can't not deal with
making the area safe. As landlords of it, we have a responsibility, whether or not that's something we've been landed with, and then in parallel to that, my view would be that we also go back to North Somerset and challenge them and ask them for either to pay for the whole of it or come to an agreement where they fund part of it.
Pay for all of it, because they passed that on to us, knowing that was an issue in 2020. I'm sorry, I'm very, very...
No, Chris behind is putting his hand up, he wants something to say. I'm just saying,
apologise.
I'm just
I thought you were looking at me.
No, just as I just said 1
Just a
second.
suggestion, I think everything that Ben said sounds absolutely perfect, but obviously you have an obligation to the public safety. Why not get the work done and send them back that email and also send them the bill and say, in lieu of this.
And that's sort of what we're saying, is we get the work done so as we can sleep, we're comfortable that, the children playing down there, because it's a great space and it's so busy, and we're in the peak season, when schools are off. The sun should be shining, but it's not. But that doesn't seem to stop them going down there. So let's have a quick vote on the various options. Emma, do you have a view on which option we should go
It
for?
has to be option 3.
Option 3. So that's to get the work done.
Get the works done. Get the works done, and then
And also go after North
go after-
Somerset.
Yep.
Ben?
I think you know my position on this one. I think it's quite clear. I'm voting against it. We don't pay a penny. But I being the chairman of the skate park group, and it literally grates me to say this, but I would shut the skate park. I would shut the whole area. Harris fence the whole area off. Say it's unsafe, I would shut it. It will cause absolute hell, but I would shut it to be an arse, because this is not acceptable. We've got a district councillor now, district councillor sat on here listening to this, obviously, and taking notes. We've got other district councillors here. We've got a resident here and residents online. We've got another councillor here. We're going to pay North Somerset again to dig out a hole. Yeah, sorry, we shut it.
Okay, all right. David, your view?
Ben makes a very powerful argument, and it's very difficult to argue against Ben. My priority would be to get that place safe as quickly as possible. So I'd go for the third option.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you.
My opinion is we keep it open just for the kids, but I agree with Janet. I think they need to be held accountable for what they've done. I think that we shouldn't be paying for this. And I agree, I can't remember your name, sorry.
Chris.
But I think, we should be paying back the bill and saying, this is your responsibility.
Yeah. Based on the information we have that you were aware when this transitioned over to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Bob?
I think option 3, I certainly would like to remind them of October last year, as to highlight their responsibility at that time and the process that they should have followed, and we pursue them for payment
for all of it. Yeah. Okay, Janet.
I'm with Ben. Shut it. Make a fuss. The only thing is with North Somerset Council, in a way, they've got to be shamed into doing things. And when you consider that, plus the other issues that we're thinking about at the moment, then, I'm just disgusted.
Okay, well, I sort of, yes, Bob.
Sue, would you like to comment while you're there on this? So it would be nice, obviously, being the district councillor, if you would like to comment.
You're on mute, Sue.
Yeah. This is the first I've heard of it, so I would have to look into it, but I will personally speak to Mike Bell and tell him what has been said today or tonight, and I hope that he will then take it up with the relevant people in North Somerset, because it doesn't seem right to me that if there are a load of trees in the area, which there is, and that there should be some inspection or whatever prior to handing it over to the town council. There should be inspections on a regular basis. I don't know how often they are. It's something I'm going to ask.
So the inspection, the last inspection that Ben was mentioning was in 2021. And they knew about those things then.
Yes,
It's around about that time. It's the last couple of years.
But they knew they were unsafe in 2021.
Right. I mean, I don't know how often they would inspect those trees. Now, whether it is every 2 or 3 years, whether it's every year or whatever, it's again something I will ask.
It depends on the expert, Sue. So the expert will recommend what review period is required, so that it doesn't matter what you or I, whatever, think per se. I'm not being rude or patronising on that. I'm generally not. It's whatever the expert. A bit like me, when I go to a site, I will give the site a risk rating. I will then determine when that review is due. That's what the tree survey guys do as well. They tell you, based on the tree conditions being X, Y, or Z, they recommend a review date. Now, they generally on tree surveys, you might get a staggered review date, because some of them are fine, some of them are maybe on monitoring. So again, you've got to be really picky on the report. So yeah,
and I
the office email was the one.
Yeah, and I don't know whether certain trees need inspecting more often than other types of trees, rather than just how they are at a certain date. I mean, some might be fine and it's every five years perhaps, and another one that might be sort of 2 years. I don't know, so I can't really answer your questions, but I will take it back.
I'm being assured by the person on my right, who is all knowing, that is the case. There are trees, depending on the type, on the risk, position, etc. I guess age as well, will determine how often they are reviewed. Final round of questions, and then we are gonna need to move on, go to a vote. So Bob, you had your hand up?
I was just going to mention that. I mean, obviously, there's been a massive ash dieback scenario. Was that the inspection? What was the inspection for? Because obviously there'd be a varied amount of inspections, so it might not be just on structurals. It could be something completely different. And as I recall, there was a lot of ash dieback issues over the last couple of years. It could be something like that was inspected, so not the structural integrity of the tree at the time.
Is there ash down? I didn't.
Yeah.
There is an ash in there.
Ash tree.
So I'm just saying, obviously, if that inspection was done, what sort of inspection was that?
Okay. And Frankie, sorry, right, last but one.
That's okay, actually.
All right, Janet, last point, and then we're gonna.
Can we actually afford to open it tomorrow, knowing this?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, I
If
guess
you don't report,
No, frankly.
I think one of the trees is, that's why this is urgent, isn't it? And I accept that point.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's very popular with children.
How quickly can we get these guys in here to do the work?
That I don't know. I know that we have to wait for National Grid to work on the popular, which has got the cables going through it. So it's not ash dieback, it's a popular tree, to give a certain clearance before the tree surgeons go in.
It's about 5 meters, isn't it?
Okay.
It's 3, I think they said.
All right.
I think they said 3, yeah.
So we may end up having to close it, and it will be already highlighted to the public then, won't it?
Right. So
We weren't instructed to close it by the tree.
You weren't?
inspector. No.
Okay. See the experts.
Okay, so we'll put this forward. There were a couple of options that were out there. There were a number of people around the table that said we should close it and just battle with North Somerset, and there were a number of people that said we should do the work as soon as practically possible, and then in conjunction, cheers, Chris, and then in conjunction with that, go back to North Somerset for the money, and challenge them on their responsibility, their ethical behaviour during the handover. So I'm going to put it to a vote, okay, around the table now. So option 3 was the second of those two that I've just put forward, which was to do the work as quickly as possible, pay for the work to be done, and then also go after North Somerset. So who would be in favour of that approach? Five. So I think we've got a majority for that approach. So I will. Oh.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Is there any breach of contract that that has come about by virtue of them handing it over in disrepair, or whichever way you want to?
I'd have to go back and have a look at the terms, but yes, I will certainly do that.
Because it's not
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's more to it than this, isn't there? Really, from that perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna change the recommendation. Okay, slightly. So the recommendation will be to approve the tree works to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity, as per the health and safety requirements, and to go to North Somerset and ask them to pay for that work.
Can I just clarify that the contractor that we're going to be using is the one that is qualified to do the works?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can we have a proposer for that? Bob, seconder. David, and then all in favour. 5, and then Janet against, and Ben
against.
And it's not for safety reasons, it's the moral reasons. I'm sorry, it's wrong.
No, I totally understand that.
Okay.
I think it's both for me.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. That sort of went round a little bit, so thanks for everybody for their input and patience.
Sharon as well for the work trying to get the quotes as well, because it's not been an easy task. So
absolutely,
it's appreciated.
Well done.
We're not shooting arrows at you.
Item 9, that comes later. Right. Item 9, Lake Grounds Visitor Survey 2. Here we go. Right. To consider funding for the Lake Grounds Visitor Survey to be conducted in partnership with North Somerset Council. This now might have a bit of a slightly different look about it, in relation to visitor numbers and facility requirements. There is, in the pack that got sent out, there is an invoice, so we know that it's £2,500. Questions?
60,000 questions on
yeah, 2,500 questions probably. Yeah, go on.
This is going to be a long one.
Go on, Em.
There's a history here. As probably everybody knows by now, one of the reasons why this is happening is because we had a consultation which we joined in with North Somerset Council last year and the previous year to do with the Great Lakes money. And the history was that we, Paul Gardner and I, for the most part, and other people joined in a bit as well, wanted to be part of that consultation. And we wanted an outcome that provided us with a sensible eating facility and drinking facility and proper loos, decent loos at the end of this. At the end of the consultation, the consultants came up with basically a mobile van and to shut the toilets. Mm-hmm. And we weren't very happy about this. And North Somerset Council has been begged not to knock the cafe down until we have some sort of idea of visitor numbers, because the consultation people were so out of touch with what was actually happening in the town when they wrote the consultation. They used figures from sometime from the 80s and 90s, including things like, they called it the Coast Ward. Well, it hasn't been the Coast Ward, the North Ward, for a very long time. And we weren't happy with the outcome, so we asked them to redo it, and the consultants resigned and said they weren't prepared to redo it. And I think that what's happening here is they're making this consultation, this further consultation, this survey so complicated that we won't be able to do it properly. And then they'll be able to come back and say to us, no, you can't have your cafe because you haven't done this survey properly.
Okay.
I think this is another time where North Somerset Council is playing games.
Bob, you have questions?
Okay, I can't find it. So a few questions. When? How long? How many days?
Jesus. A year. 6 hours a week.
Secondly,
It was 700 hours, wasn't it, David?
how many hours?
I think David worked
It's
actually
about
700 hours.
640 person hours, spaced out over a year, 4 blocks of 1 week.
Right, so 600 hours.
Each one in a season.
Over a year, yeah.
And there's across 3 sites, wasn't it?
Across 3 sites, yeah.
Across 3 sites. So what sites were they?
One was by the cricket pavilion area, entry to the lake ground. One was by the steps up to Esplanade Road, and one was down by the cafe. So it's three sites, each surveyed for a week in each of the 4 seasons of the year. And in any particular day, the plan was to do it for 8 hours, 4 lots of 2 hours. So if you do all the multiplication, it comes to about 600 hours. So if a volunteer were to put 2 days aside to do that, we'd need 80 volunteers.
Okay, my second point is North Somerset Council's consultations are well known for not being very good. And personally, we'd rather us do it ourselves for a volunteer group. I'm sure we could do that pretty easily, rather than pay someone to do it for us.
Well, that's what they're wanting us to do. Well, the fact is, where are you going to find 80 volunteers?
Why do you need 80 volunteers?
David has just explained that.
The history of this goes back to the last Lake Grounds Committee meeting back in May. I've been a councillor for about 2 weeks, so I think, Mike, you were there possibly, but we were all a bit naive and finding our feet. But as part of that discussion, the guys from North Somerset said to us, we want to do a visitor survey to find out exactly, Janet, you were there, weren't you, as well, what the numbers are. Because I think they had some approximate numbers. They thought there were about 80,000 visitors a year, based on memory. To which I think the representatives from North Somerset said to us, Paul said, I think, you've got lots of volunteers, be happy to do it. If you send us the methodology, we'll provide the volunteers to do the work for you. And I think we read that, or I personally read that, as meaning we get a bit of methodology from North Somerset, and a group of us volunteers would go and do the work. I don't know if other people who were there had the same impression.
Well, I didn't get the impression that this is what they had aimed for.
And I think the fact that they has sent it out, so they didn't have off-the-shelf methodology. They've gone to a consultancy and asked for a consultancy to provide a methodology for us at the cost of £3,010 plus VAT.
But they didn't consult us.
No.
And they're asking us to pay for something that they've had no consultation with us for 2.5 months. We haven't been included in this. We haven't been advised of this. We haven't been included in it in any way. It's an absolute disgrace, yet again.
Okay, and the third point was who benefits from the consultation?
Well, hopefully the thing is, we were hoping to get the cafe, that they're going to make it a year's consultation. We were hoping to get the cafe started long before this year is out. What I was hoping for was that we would get a group of people together and start applying for grants now, in the same way as we did for the skate park, and get a decent cafe facility and offering that suits the lake grounds. And they want us to have a truck. Now, I know that that's because North Somerset Council hasn't got the money to do it. But frankly, it's insulting to the people of Portishead. It's an insult to the lake grounds. It's an insult to us. And it's officers at North Somerset Council being high-handed yet again in trying to force us to have something that they want us to have and ignoring councillors.
Thank you, Janet. I think we get your view. Anybody else want to add anything? Ben?
Yeah.
Ben.
So obviously the quote is valid until the 27th of June 2023. So question one, is it still valid? Obviously, effectively they've sent us a quote for something they're expecting us to pay for. I think we should send them a postcard back saying, with a definition from the dictionary of consultation. Because communication, the last time I heard, is a two-way street. You don't talk to somebody, you don't talk at somebody, you talk to them and have a conversation. You don't send them a quote saying, will you pay this please? Well, quote on what? It leaves a bad taste, a bit like Janet says. The first consultation that was ran, we agreed to go halves on the bill.
We've refused to pay it.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
We agreed to pay halves on the bill. We weren't involved as we wanted to be, nor Somerset ignored us. We got the results back, which you might as well chuck them in the skip and or bury them in the skate park because it was a completely waste of time. We refused to pay the bill, then North Somerset said, yeah, we'll pay it. Well, thank you, it's very generous of you. I mean, you generally are gold. You know, what people they are. So we're now at the point where they want to run a second consultation into the second summer, and it's going to go on for another year.
That's crazy.
And it's like, well, why should we? There's 2 points, isn't there?
Yeah.
Why should we run a consultation with them when we can't trust them? And they're not giving us any inkling to trust them, because the first one was rubbish. The conversation we've had regarding the other agenda items tonight about the trees, again, that I think if we do it ourselves. We don't pay the bill, because it feels like, I'll say it, it's what I think, is they may well have primed, ready for the results they want to get. So they're dictating what results they're going to get. So say, for example, they want to have chocolate ice cream with brown dips on the top and a flake. That's what they're going to get. If we want a cafe that's open Monday to Friday with new toilets, we won't get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They want to also, the second part to this is they want to give, they are quite eager to have a conversation with this council about giving us the lake grounds. Well, they're also quite eager, not so long ago, to give us Somerset Hall. Well, what's happened to Somerset Hall in the past 24 hours? Well, here we go again. So, you know, yes, there is a tad of sarcasm here, and everyone's facing this room telling 1,000 stories. You know, ultimately, there is a complete lack of trust with anything that North Somerset Council say to us at the moment.
And we're not talking about the councillors.
We're not talking. Well, the problem is with the issue that's happened in the past 24 hours. We don't know how involved, from the information we've got back today so far, how involved the councillors were. But we've said this before. Fundamentally, there is a problem within North Somerset Council about how officers and councillors work and engage with each other. And it feels like to me at some time there are some very good officers. Let's be very clear. There are some amazing officers in North Somerset Council, and they're fantastic. And I could rattle a load of them off now. They're amazing people, do a fantastic job. And there are a number of very good councillors. But we've got what I feel is some bad eggs that keep rearing their head, and no matter what, they'll keep pushing the agenda. We push back, they push, we push back, so we don't actually get anywhere. My opinion is we don't go with it and don't pay the money.
Okay. Right, can we be really quick in interest of time, because we're
very
running out,
quick.
And
Just
David wanted to say something.
Sorry,
Mike
David,
wants to say something.
first.
Okay, so I haven't got the history of you guys from Somerset. No, I'm new to this. but I hear what you're saying. I feel less cynical about this. This is just a visitor number survey. This is nothing to do with the cafe. This is about just getting numbers of people who go to the restaurant, which I think is important information. So it's a survey. I think what's surprising is that we're being asked to pay for it, because that wasn't the impression we got at the meeting. I think what's also that sort of surprises. The other part of this is at the last meeting there was a very robust discussion. Last Lake Council meeting, there was a robust discussion about whether we paid for the survey where the Janice described, the cafe survey, and North Somerset agreed to pay that and not give us the bill. And we as a town council agreed that the money we'd set aside for that work would be used to support other grounds related activities. So it's a subtle situation. There are issues about the design of the survey, which I think could be approved, but there's also an issue about what we've said to North Somerset we do with the money that we ended up not paying for the work that we were unhappy with. So it's slightly more nuanced, I think.
Okay.
Up to a point, but they don't consult us about how our money is going to be spent. They've just high-handedly decided that this is the one they're going to go with, without, and it is to do with the cafe, David. It is.
Okay, Mike.
A couple of things here very briefly. I think with the invoice of £3,000, it should be a 50-50 split. And I think supporting Janet's idea about future financing for any project like going out to grants, then they're going to want to know any grant applications. They're going to want to know what visitor numbers are. And I think therefore the survey would be a benefit for that type of research.
It's not a recommendation, okay? This is only an item on here for us to consider funding this, okay?
Yeah, I know what my answer is.
But so in regards to whether or not we would consider funding it, Trevor, just a very quick around the table, just a yes or no, so we've got an idea as to where we stand. So, Janet?
No.
No. Bob?
No.
Frankie?
No.
A more qualified yes. I think if this work is going to lead to an accurate visitor number profile, and it will help grant application. That's a good point, Mike. I think it might be helpful to support it. I think it has, before we do that, the methodology is not good. It has to be changed. So it's a very qualified yes, but it's not a clear cut no.
Okay. Ben?
We can do our own survey. The skate park group did their own survey, collected nearly 1,000 people, did our own. Doesn't cost us a penny.
Question?
So, no.
Okay. Emma?
I think it's also a no on the basis of we need to know what it's facilitating, and at the moment we don't know what it's facilitating.
You gave a perfect example. Its ability to gain grants, but on whose benefit? Is it for the town's benefit, or is it for North Somerset Council's benefit?
We're going to need to go back to them and just say,
that's what my concerns are.
Poor Sharon. We're right.
Right.
No, it's not that at all.
We will have to go back to them. All right?
Fine.
We'll do the letters.
We'll sort out what we go back to them with, all right?
It's just a no, isn't it?
It's a no. It's a no in this, because we're not sure what it is.
How dare they, frankly?
Right.
I think there should be a dialogue. I think that's the key thing here.
Yeah.
There has been no dialogue.
Yeah.
I think there's been dialogue about the design of
Absolutely.
the effective situation. I still stick with my qualified yes, but I take all your views.
Okay. Right. Item 10. Slade Road remedial works. To consider a report on Slade Road for remedial works to improve the play facilities on site. Report attached. So there are a number of items on here. One of which we've talked before, which is extending the landing area, which I think is something that has to happen. You know, my grandson,
definitely for me anyway.
My grandson missed the landing area on several occasions, and no, he has. He ended up in the hedge. Look in the head.
It's Tim, you realise this is Tim's fault because it's the longest slide in the area.
It is partially my grandson's fault because he was working through various people's coats to find out which got the quickest speed on it. There were a bunch of them. But I think that work, that work certainly is something that we need to really consider. Put play area, safety bark, top up, and then there's another one on here which is cover the whole exposed ground with matting. The recommendation is as a minimum to improve the slide landing area and extend it to 2.4 meters. Anybody got any points on the other items on the list? Ben?
I would approve point 1 and then point 2 to top up the extension of the tree bark. It's an absolute no-brainer. I met with Lynn down there just before I went on holiday, and we kind of did discuss it. So I'd like to think also the bits of concrete that's showing through now are also removed before the bark's put down and not just covered up. But yeah, the landing area massively needs to be extended, and obviously the tree bark. I think the matting, as I said to Lynn at the time I was talking to her, I don't agree with the rubber matting because we're putting rubber down. It's not particularly environmentally friendly. It's not actually solving the problem. All it does is allow the mud, when it rains, allows the rain to settle underneath. Yeah. It gets used, gets trodden in, the mud bubbles and comes through. Before you know it, it's a mud ring again. My suggestion was that we put a border all the way around the whole area, the play park area itself, put a 4x1 timber that's battened down on stakes, and then bark the whole area, because that will soak up the moisture. So put a moisture barrier down and a weed barrier, will stop it all coming through. The bark will then create a lot safer area. I would go with that. But for me, point 1 is to extend it by 2.4 meters for 1651 plus VAT, yes, and to top up the extension of the area, safe bark, 1200 plus VAT, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any? David?
Two quick questions. One is, what's the average maintenance cost of our parks in a year? And two, given the safety concerns, why didn't the contractors who put the slide in the first place make an adequate length?
It complies and was signed off. It does comply.
So it's compliant, but
yeah.
So the compliance rules are wrong.
You could argue, yeah, because it was signed off by Rosper. So Rosper effectively, it's play parks all over the country. They are the accredited body and certified competent, a bit like a tree surgeon. They are the people to inspect play parks. They will tell you whether it's safe or not. They measure the width, they measure the distances and all sorts. Having seen the guy in action at the skate park, to say they're finicky is probably an understatement. It's quite funny. But we said initially, didn't we, when it was opened up, that actually we had a concern that the landing area wasn't long enough.
Yeah.
And a few people did overshoot. And my little lad is only 4.5, well, 4 3/4, and very nearly 5, about a week and a half. But he nearly overshot it. He's he's not the biggest dog, he's not the smallest dog, but when he come whizzing down, and he literally feet nearly touching the wood, I saw the white of his eyes. It's a very quick slide, and particularly if it's a bit slippy weather, it's an even faster slide. So I think we just have to do it.
Yeah. Anybody else got any questions?
What's our average maintenance cost for our parks every year?
We don't know that.
I ain't got it off the top of my head, to be honest.
But we'll get that.
Yeah.
We can get that to you. Okay. Sue?
Yeah.
Yes, when it was officially opened, I was with Lynn when she was talking to the person who had done it and talking about extending the area at the bottom of the slide. And he was saying that it depends what people are wearing, because evidently if it's some sort of nylon, it just sends you right off the end. So it isn't whether it's wet or dry or whatever, which is what I would have thought, but it is really dependent on clothing, and especially if it's nylon, because nylon and the metal will just make it very fast.
So you've got to assume nylon in your design, haven't you?
Specify to play park, can you? You can't go on a play park with silk. You've got to go back home and get changed for nylon. I've never seen a playboy stipulate what clothing you wear. So go back to your point. Should it have been signed off? There's a requirement.
So that's the television.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
So, all right. So, item 10, recommendation as a minimum to approve the slide landing pit extension to 2.4 metres and obviously to fill it with safety bar. Yeah.
And the remedial work of removing the
And the
concrete.
remedial work of removing the.
There's not a chart. There's not a price there for that, is there?
No. No.
Can we get one?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can. It's a bit more involved than just digging out a bit of concrete.
I have had the town rulers have a little look.
Yeah, I know. I did say when I was with it, it's got to come out because it's just some of it is, if someone lands on it, it's going to hurt.
Okay.
And that's the bit, going back to David's point, and I kind of questioned at the time with Lynn, why was this signed off in the first place? Because if you look at it, where you go from where you got the kind of the climbing bit, where you come round onto mud, and then it's like tarmac and concrete and all sorts.
Yeah, I don't think that section was actually visible at that time. It's got worse as we've had high volumes of people going through there, and the weather has been mucky, and it's been and then it got dry and compacted. And there was one section right on the corner which we were able to dig out, which was an old concrete post. This is more of a tarmacy.
Section. Then you got the three concrete steps having onto the thing.
Well, we know there's other stuff that needs to be done up there anyway, because there's another item on the bottom of here that we're not necessarily looking at in this recommendation. But
going back to the trees, if it's a health and safety issue, then it needs to be.
We need to at least do the landing area.
Okay, so recommendation to approve the slide landing pit extension 2.4 metres and fill it with the gravel, etc. Can we have a proposer, Bob, and a seconder, Frankie? And then everyone in favour?
Thank you.
Everybody. Okay, thank you. And then the concrete bits and that we'll look at as an extra bit. Yep. Okay.
I'd just like to say with us, obviously this is a learning curve for all of us, and a point of monitoring obviously is a seasonal change as this Slade Road Park is used, because we need to monitor it as well. I think because it's a new project, it's a new idea. Obviously, it's all words. We need to understand and look at the process of it through the seasonal changes as well.
Because the kids are using the banks and everything, and there's mudslides and everything up there now. It's wicked.
Wonderful.
It is. It's great until you get them home. Okay, item 11, outside organisation cycle forum. We're looking for a representative from the town council to attend the cycle forum meetings, which I believe are held quarterly. So do we have somebody with a hand up?
I propose myself.
There we go. So okay, do we don't really need to recommend that, do we? We're just looking for a name. Do we need to recommend? Okay, all right. All right, so the recommendation is to approve Mike as the representative from Portishead Town Council to attend the quarterly cycle forum meetings. We have a proposer. We'll go with David, seconder, Bob, and all in favour?
And I'll put one up for Bob.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay. He's off that. On your bike. Right, okay, item 12, consultation, North Somerset Carers Strategy. Okay, this is, have we all had a chance to read it? Yeah. Is there anything in this that, I think the questions are, is there anything missing from the aims and actions? And whether or not, as an organisation, we could support the delivery of that strategy. we have any questions?
Martin Dowling lectures on caring. He's a carer himself, and he actually goes around and lectures on it. He would be the best person to speak to about this.
Okay. David?
I've got some comments I could send in. I've seen so many strategies in my professional life.
Please do.
Yes.
So if it's helpful for you to have some comments to send back to them.
Yes, please.
They're large and broad. And what was disappointing, it's great consultation, obviously, they've spoken to lots of people. It was disappointing to me that they hadn't said more in the strategy about existing carer groups. There's nothing about how you involve communities to facilitate the formation of new groups to support carers. And it's not that, the strategies are generally about where are we now, where we're going to head to. It's not enough in this about where are we now in terms of the main conditions that are being cared for. I guess it's largely dementia, and where they're being cared for. I'd love to know, home or elsewhere, and who the main carers. But I'll send you an email. Sharon, Wendy.
To me, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could, Janet.
Support for carers, where their caree is looked after, is very thin on the ground. So it's very hard for carers to get the support they need because they can't leave their person, and to actually put in place spaces where the carees are looked after. We did that, didn't we, last year?
We did.
We actually did it as part of our CRF funding and ran a course for carers where their caree could go and be looked after whilst the carers were having some sort of social life. But the chances of that happening are very slim, and there's going to have to be an awful lot of work put into that because the facilities are simply not there.
As a carer and in North Somerset, I am in regular communication with North Somerset, and I absolutely 100% agree with what you're saying, that the provision they offer to support carers currently in North Somerset is
zero.
It's just non-existent. In fact, we're in the middle of a big battle with them around some of their own policies that they have advised us in writing that they are unable to deliver. So I think your feedback would be vital with your experience and knowledge.
And I'll speak to Martin and ask him to, because
we've got a response date of the 18th of August. So okay, that's in time. And if you could speak to Martin, that'd be good. Any other points on this one?
I just think it's a good joined up thinking again, isn't it? As long as the thinking is joined up and actually benefits the residents of North Somerset and particularly Portishead, that's all we worry about ultimately, isn't it? It's just to make sure people are being cared for. And I think you know more than anything about this, Paul, obviously, but when maybe Chris as well, who was here earlier, people need help, and it's not just the individual that needs the help, it's the carer as well, because sometimes it's a really tough gig being a carer for somebody, emotionally, mentally, physically, it's a tough one. So I think there needs to be a bit, like David's, a bit more thought process about how they're going to join the dots between the existing groups that surround Portishead, and there's no kind of evidence of where they're actually going to do that. It feels a little bit like, well, actually, maybe some groups, but actually we're going to just reinvent this wheel anyway and carry on. I don't think that's the way to go.
Last time when we did the CRF fund, carers helped, we use the youth centre, didn't we? And they were able to take their person that they looked after, and they were looked after for them whilst they got together and had a chat and a coffee without having to spend time caring.
And the feedback that was amazing.
immense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be a good thing for us to be able to put that into place, and that would have to be through the wellbeing fund, wellbeing project.
Okay, so we're going to get some feedback from David, and Janet, you're going to speak to Martin. And get into feedback. Okay. Anything else on item 12 as we move on? Okay, item 13, wellbeing update report. I have to say it's a much easier report. It's a much easier report to fly through. So thank you very much. And if you could pass those thanks back to Laura.
Thank you.
Some great information in it. Anybody got anything they want to pick up on? Want to raise any bits they feel are missing?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Obviously, in light of what's happened in the past 24 hours with Somerset Hall, are any of these events actually happening at Somerset Hall? I mean, I know they've given us a date when it may be open by X, but yeah, I mean, really.
Well, I think it's, when's the wellbeing one? It's November, isn't it?
November the 11th.
Yeah.
Because that is the one that we're running, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Laura's actually on leave at the minute, so she won't know about any of this at the minute, but as soon as she comes back, she'll be on the case.
We discussed this, and actually what we're trying to do with that one is have a multi-area, we discussed in last week's meeting, and what we were trying to do is have it in lots of different places, and including the Beacon Hub, youth centre, and a few other places like that. So not specifically Somerset Hall. We were going to try and use that, but I presume we can possibly change that to a different area. But before, we had all the fun things going on in Beacon Hub. I wasn't there because I couldn't go. You went, didn't you? All the fun things, and so did David.
Yeah, we were in Somerset Hall while it was going on in the
all the dull stuff was going on in Somerset Hall. The aim is to mix it all
up.
It was
a very different vibe, wasn't it?
I think the impression I had was that Somerset Hall was not a great setting. It's hard to get people off the street. They had to go up the steps to get there.
Yeah.
And the footfall was compared to the youth centre,
much lower.
Was tough.
Which is why we want to mix it up next time, so that you get and also another thing that was mentioned yesterday in the strategy meeting, the hope is to for the future where we have events such as, say, the carnival and the Penny Festival and the Christmas Fair, is to maybe have a gazebo where we have people who are able to, like Christians Against Poverty could be there, and a few things like that, so that we actually take well-being into the community much more, so that people will be able to access this sort of thing as part of an enjoyment thing. So we actually include it in events.
A wellbeing area at the main event.
Absolutely, and that's what we're trying to do. So in the end, hopefully, we'll have a chance to move away from the winter wellbeing thing, a specific event where because access to these different services will become the norm.
I think also, which kind of came to light when we all sat around last night, was we need to have a clearer, better strategy for communicating these things as well. Because it's very clear that we're far too reliant on the internet. I'll leave it at that, because it covers all bases. But I think, there's raised about signs on bus stops, better signage around, notice boards, and so on and so on. We've got to be better at it, because there is a big category of people that rely on a piece of paper or talking to somebody or whatever. They're not on the internet. They're not on social media.
No.
And I'll admit, I've come off social media over a year ago now, but I've actually said to Paul last night, I physically closed down my Facebook, Instagram, and all my accounts. They're gone. Has anyone got a Twitter, but I don't have a clue how to use it? I've shut them all down. So how do I get access to some of this information? Well, people share it with me is one point, or other councils don't know about it, but we need to broaden our horizons and not look down this narrow tunnel that society is today, of looking down the internet as this one big.
Well, it's the easy way, isn't it?
It's too easy though, isn't it?
That's the issue.
But you're marginalising big proportion of people that don't even have access to the internet,
Yes.
let alone know how to use it.
But the thing is, you can't, even if you put it up on notice boards and stuff, you can't make people look at it.
No, but at least you try something different, Jan. That's my point.
Yeah,
You try
and I
something
think
different.
that's a great idea.
So-
I agree with that. But in November last year, poor Amy had to keep producing leaflets for me, and I gave out something like 3,000 leaflets to people about various different things that are happening. And do you remember that? Absolutely incredible. And speaking to people, but even then, when you actually speak to people, I was doing it for hours, and you engage people in conversation about something, you still only get a hit rate of about 3%.
Multi-channel, isn't it? It's
It's
not one thing that
you've
fits
got to
all
do
anymore.
everything.
But if you don't try,
Yes.
then you've failed.
But
because you've got to at least then try something, haven't you? I think that's the point.
That's what we did for Worried
Yeah,
About
no,
Winter.
I'm not saying you're not.
And
I'm
I
not saying you didn't.
agree with
I'm
you.
not criticising anybody.
No.
What I'm saying off the back of that night's conversation and the different comments around feedback around comms is we all need to improve at it and think outside the box, is what I'm saying. I'm not pointing any fingers anywhere. I'm just making a general comment that I think we need to think outside the box and not assume that someone's got an
It's
internet
our biggest
or
issue. It is our biggest
It's an
issue.
issue across society full stop at the moment, because it you know, as somebody said to me the other day, and I was actually listening to Talk Sport, so what's society come to in the past 2 years? It's like, his words weren't particularly polite, so I can't really say them on this, but it's like, you know, society is so reliant on things, and people have become so whatever about certain things, because you can only try and teach them and try and educate them and try and show them. You can't, you know, as I say, you can't sometimes drag a horse to water, can you?
Exactly.
It will come on its own. And if they want to come, then they'll go and find the information out. If it's on a notice board, they'll ask somebody. So we try.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll be at the events and I'll see you in November.
Last opportunity, any comments on the wellbeing piece? Otherwise we will...
Oh, finally.
you've opened the minutes. Well done.
No. One of the things that I'm really pleased about is that when we did the CRF fund, we did do workshops for menopause, but we realised that there was a need for workshops for lots of different things. And I wasn't aware until last week that Laura had actually managed to organise these and find speakers and stuff like that. And I'm absolutely delighted, because that is the sort of thing that we should be doing as part of our wellbeing stuff for the council. I'm thrilled with that. That's the biggest plus thing for me for the last fortnight, really.
Oh. Sue, you've got your hand up.
Yes, very, very briefly, just to say that under community concerns and celebrations, the last item is Coastal Path very overgrown. I have spoken to or emailed somebody at North Somerset. I've also spoken to them. I've sent them a reminder. I'm about to send them another reminder. All right, so I am on the case. About
that's the same team that we've been talking about the whole time.
Sorry?
Okay. Thanks, Sue.
Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Sorry, Sue.
Okay, so last and final item 14, date of the next meeting, Thursday the 24th of August, 7:30, same place.
Day after your birthday.
That's it.
Expect
Your
your
birthday
birthday.
child meeting now. I'm on holiday.
There'll be some cake.
That's it. We are closed. Thank you, everybody.
Birthday cake.